Chapter 1. Bee lived under a bridge. She had 2 bags. In the bags there was a coat, some brown shoes and an old brown hat. It was very cold in winter. There was a book of photographs too, and a yellow baby's dress. These were important to Bee. Why? She didn't remember. Every day Bee watched the river. She liked watching the people too. A lot of people came under the bridge. But they didn't look at Bee. They usually walked very quickly. They were happy because their lives were different from hers. They didn't want to see her or talk to her. Bee didn't like talking. But she liked singing. Her songs were from a different life. Sometimes she remembered a house, children, and a garden. But she didn't remember very much. Her head was an empty room. The bridge was her home now. Hello. My name's Martin. A young man sat under the bridge near Bee. Bee closed her eyes. I'm sleeping, she said. Go away. The man smiled. Can I ask you some questions, he said. Bee didn't want to listen. Questions were always bad. She started to sing. La la la, she sang loudly. The man waited. Bee opened one eye. The young man had a nice smile. She remembered a young man with a nice smile. I'm Bee, she said. Why are you sitting under my bridge? You see that house? He looked at a tall house across the river. It was old with dark windows. Then he looked at Bee. His eyes were very blue and very clever. I'm a policeman, he said. I'm watching that house. Bee looked at Martin with big eyes. A policeman? She didn't like policemen. They usually had angry faces. You can't stay here. Move, they said to Bee. She always moved. But then she always came back again. This was her bridge. But this policeman was different. He looked into her eyes. He talked to her. She was a person to him. A person with feelings. Why? She asked. You've got a job. You can't watch houses. You haven't got time. It is my job. Martin smiled again. Bee was a strange person. But sometimes there was a clever light in her eyes. We don't know, but perhaps there are bad people in that house. He said quietly. Yesterday some men took a little girl. From her home in town. Her father has a lot of money. Perhaps the men want money from him. This is Emily, the little girl. Martin had a picture. The girl had dark hair and a yellow dress and shoes. Bee looked away. She sat quietly and looked at the river. It moved slowly under the bridge. Perhaps they took the little girl to that tall house. Martin said. No. Bee said suddenly, very loudly. I can't hear you. Then her eyes went dark and she started to sing again. La la la. Martin looked away. He was wrong. Bee didn't understand. She lived in a dream. He started to move away. Goodbye, Bee. Bee's hand was suddenly on his coat. No, she said again. There aren't any people in that house. It's empty. I watch it. Bee didn't like talking. It was difficult and her mouth felt strange. Was there a light in the house, Bee? Martin asked. In the night? Bee's head was full. She closed her eyes. Questions, questions, she sang. Look, Bee. Look, Martin said. There were policemen in the garden of the tall house. They moved quietly and looked in the dark windows. Bee watched. Where was the little girl? Where was Emily? She had a bad feeling. This was strange for Bee. She didn't have feelings. Sometimes she felt hot or cold, but she never felt happy or unhappy. Now she had a feeling and she didn't like it. She didn't want the feeling. Life was good with no feelings. But she watched the policeman. Now they were at the door. The house was quiet. The door wasn't strong and it opened. It was dark in the house. The policeman went in.